Hi, this is David Baumblatt from Caravan to Leadership. Today, we are going to be talking about Asian Americans, particularly Chinese Americans, about loyalty to America and to China. But let's preface this very quickly, and that is I focus a lot on China for obvious reasons. This is what I've been studying for almost my whole life, pretty much, living in China for 15 years and that. But China as a non-Western country, many of these concepts that I'm saying can easily be replaced with India, with Saudi Arabia, with Japan, with non-Western countries, to include Israel. So basically, the Israel and the non-Western world very similar, and that is they are ethno-states. Very good. In fact, I learned a lot of my political ideology has changed with China. And because these countries are ethno-states, I make it known that these countries look upon their citizens, not by passport, not by nationality, but by ethnicity. And so, again, we're going to be talking a lot about China for the reasons that I just said, but you could replace this with India and whatnot. So, for the Chinese government, is if you are of the Chinese ethnicity, what your passport is, where you were born, what your nationality is, that is secondary. What is the most important is if you are of the Chinese ethnicity, you are Chinese. And that comes with positive and negative, how it is. Guten Tag, Shane. And I say this because, and I want to make this known because on this video, we're going to be talking about this girl called Eileen Gu. Her name's Gu. The Chinese name is called Gu Eileen. But what I do want to do is a lot of people always assert that, well, America is a land of immigrants. Yeah, well, we could get to that later, but let's talk about Europe. I mean, you've got people walking around now saying, I'm German, I'm French, I'm British. No, you're not. You might have a British passport, but unless you're of the European race, then you're not European, you're not British. So the same thing they keep trying, and when I say they, who's they? Well, it's the globalist elite, the globalist corporations, the globalist government. They try to, meaning if this is only done in white Western countries. And so what a lot of people say is, what's an American? What's a Canadian? What's an Australian? These are countries of immigrants. Well, they were countries of immigrants from Europe. They are the founding fathers of Canada, the founding fathers of America, the founding fathers of Australia are European. But you get it. Yeah, sure. We had some other immigrant. We could talk about that later. And the reason I say later is I'm not afraid to talk about that point, but let's go to the obvious one. Europe is not a land of immigrants. If you are white, that means you're European. Your homeland is Europe. So now you have people just masquerading like, I'm Italian, I'm French, I'm German. No, you're not. And if you're a white cuck who says, I think that, well, then I'm Chinese. And I've got two questions for you. If you're a white person, and I wasn't born in China, but let's give it to, but there are white people that are born in China, not much, but let's even assume that I was born in China and I've lived there, for whatever, 20 years. Would you consider me Chinese if I said I'm Chinese? You wouldn't, you wouldn't. And guess who else would not consider me to be Chinese? The Chinese. They never would. They would always consider me a Lao Wai. They would probably treat me like they treat me a little differently because I'm fluent in the Chinese language. And there's definitely cultural things. And I do believe cultural are able to bond or bridge certain gaps. But at the end of the day, these are racial societies. It's the same thing going into Israel. You could try to convert all you want to Judaism, good luck, and learn the culture. But their primary aim is racially. Are you racially Jewish? Religion comes second. And so it's the same thing in China. You could learn Confucianism or Taoism, and you could learn all the culture, the language you want. But if you're not ethnically Chinese, it ain't happening. Now, I have learned from that, and guess what? I think it makes a lot of common sense because if you look at the world to include Western nations 200 years ago and before, that's how it was. I mean, we've always, if you thought of a German, who would you think of? Blonde hair, blue eyes? Would that not come in your mind? You're probably not thinking of Black people. You're not thinking of Asian people. And if you are thinking them, then why can't you do the same thing with a Japanese person, a blonde hair, blue eyed person saying Japanese? So it's the white people, too, that are main problem. So we're going to go over some videos, but I want to emphasize this point because this is going to start. We're going to do a quick news on Twitter, on X, and we're going to do some videos. But I want to make this point very known. The word traitor now is being thrown around like Eileen Gu. I don't consider Eileen Gu a traitor at all. The point being, I've said many times, I just think her American passport should be brought. I mean, it should be done polite because the problem, it always comes down to white men. White men have just screwed this country because white men have spoiled women. White men have spoiled racial minorities. White men have spoiled immigrants to the point that white men have allowed women, racial minorities, and immigrants to walk all over them. It's the same thing I said. If you see a spoiled child, do you blame the child or do you blame the parent? You normally would blame the parent. Who founded America? Strong white men, Christian, heterosexual, Western European white men. If our founding fathers were alive today, what would they think? If our World War II veterans were alive today, what would they think? They would be completely embarrassed with the white man. So I go back with this Eileen Gu thing. I blame the white man. I don't blame her. She's smart. She's like a prostitute. She's a very smart woman, and she's playing both sides. It's embarrassing. But I would just, the solution to it is just, again, to revoke, I'll say quickly, politely revoke her American citizenship and send her on her way in China. And I wish her the best of luck and whatever. She doesn't want to go because she likes white men. But what I want to do is I want to emphasize this word traitor. Everyone's like traitor. Eileen Gu's a traitor. Everyone's a traitor. You're seeing this word. People looked at me like, you left America and you moved to China, you're a traitor. And we're going to use that word. It's coming up here in X. And the reason is it's sort of like the word racist. Everyone's a racist. You're a racist. He's a racist. Well, at least white people. If you're a white man, you're basically a racist. The term is used so it's become diluted to the point that it has no meaning anymore. And even if someone said, David, you're a racist, okay, well, define the word. And if I fit the definition, I'll acknowledge that I'm a racist. But this word traitor all the time. We never want to look at the American corporations, though, who go to overseas, who make our culture, or the politicians. We never want to look at them, but we look at Eileen Gu as a traitor. I don't look at Eileen Gu as a traitor. I've said this many times. Once you become racially conscious, I looked at the Chinese and the Africans as you have to be betrayed by your own people, by your own government. China has never betrayed us. Why? Because there's no reason for China to be loyal to us. I'm not saying China's evil, but who has betrayed us? White men, white women, that's why I look at it. Our politicians have betrayed, our own government has betrayed us. Those would be the traitors. I don't look at Eileen Gu as a traitor. Why? She should have never become American citizenship in the first place. Never should have happened. How did she become an American citizen? Because years past, white men betrayed the conservatives, the Patriots, and they changed our entire immigration system. This never would happen. For the same reason that I can never become a Chinese citizen. No matter what I do, I can never become a Chinese citizen. And you know what? That's because the Chinese men in China, they're actually loyal to one another. Why? Because they want China to remain racially Chinese. So they don't get these problems like we do in America. So anyway, let's look at a quick thing here from X and kind of showing you what's going on. And it just shows you that we really don't have a good grasp on it. So let me just take a quick look at this really quick. So this is Carolyn Levitt. So again, when I think of traitors, I think of these. I mean, what the hell is Carolyn Levitt doing? She should be home raising her kids. But again, I look particularly at white women and white men. When I think of the word traitor, the first people come to my mind are probably white men and white women. But anyway, she does a comment and I do something else. I said, hey, why are you ignoring military veterans? She knows about me. She knows about me. She knows that I'm a military veteran. I need help and I'm government, and she's ignored me. She's a traitor. Then we get this other woman called Grammy. Now, Grammy, I clicked on her. She's blocked me already, immediately blocked me. And she's a MAGA supporter. She's heavy MAGA. And I guess this is great. She's the typical FBI and the CIA agent. This is the level of intelligence in our government. She's like, this guy's a foreigner. Well, Grammy, I don't know what proof do you need, but I'm an American citizen, born and raised in America. But thanks for your support, Grammy. You're turning into the typical MAGA who's really dumb and hypocritical, because Grammy blocked me because she's too busy thanking military veterans for their service. So thanks, Grammy. I appreciate it. The reason why I want to say this is look at Grammy, how retarded she is. This is a MAGA person, by the way. And what does that lead into? It leads into this right here. And what do we have? We have a society. This is the American society. It is dumbed down, indoctrinated. And everyone's a conspiracy theorist. And what did I say here? Yeah, it's collapsing before our eyes. We're going to go on a couple more, but when I say this is, and we know this, even in MAGA has turned into a cult. If you do anything outside the block, like for instance, me coming back on social media or the first time asking for help, it is amazing what I've been accused of or this or that. At the end of the day, how any American white men would enter the draft for this country and die for this country, the treatment is, it's beyond belief. But you can tell these conspiracy theories are getting crazy. Shane, I see your comments. I'll get to them. Let me get to this one here. So this is 1 second. Let me go back to this. So as we move on here, let's go to this one right here. And this is where we're going to start getting into it. And this was an interesting thing. I want to go. So her name is Daniela Gill. I don't know if you know Daniela. She's like an Indian girl. Her father is, what was it? The guy that says, so he's like one of these big MAGA guys. And her husband is a congressman. Anyway, I can't, Sudesh or something like that, whatever. Her father is this Indian guy who's very high up in the MAGA circles. You probably know him. And her husband is a white congressman. Again, Danielle is an Indian girl. That's another story onto itself. But look at Daniela. Now she's a typical MAGA, and they always like to get righteous now. She's like, look at these two skiers. One's a black woman. And what did I keep saying? Well, I don't know why they don't want to go back to Africa, and we'll talk about that later. But anyway, back to Danielle. She's like, what we need is we don't need these traitors like Eileen Gu. Look, we need these, this black person in here. And this, you get what they're getting. I think there were some other comments, too, that also backlashed on Daniela. What did I say? Daniela, first of all, don't lecture us on patriotism. It's dead in America. Dead. And I say this, her father, I wish I brought up, this guy. He's one of the big players. Daniela, you know about me because you followed me on my first X account before it got suspended. You know about me. Your husband, who is a congressman who gets taxpayer money, knows about me. And guess who knows about me? Your father, who's big into the police state with the FBI. Before you look at Eileen Gook and tell that she is an unpatriotic person, you could go fuck yourself, sweetheart, along with your faggot husband, who should never be in Congress. He has a duty now. He leeches. I never leeched off the American taxpayer. I joined the military, which your faggot husband was too much of a coward to join the military. I did. I joined the military. It was a joke, and I quit. Didn't want anything. I joined the FBI, and I quit because that place was corrupt and incompetent. So I was never going to leech off the American taxpayer. Your husband is leeching off the American. He has a duty. When he sees, if you're a private citizen, it's your freedom. If your husband is a congressman, which he is, and he sees a military veteran is not welcome back in America and I have government, that's not an option anymore. That is called a duty. I know he didn't go to West Point, even though I think West Point's overrated, but he didn't go. So he doesn't understand the concept of duty, honor, country. But when your brown-skinned Indian person wants to lecture Americans on who's a traitor, who's not patriotism, your husband needs to do his job, or he needs to stop leeching off the American taxpayer and go fucking to India, where you're from. He doesn't want to go to India because he probably thinks it's a shithole because your husband's a racist, just like you're probably a racist looking at the black woman and the Asian woman. But nobody, the point being is, and I say this again, we're going to get into it. This concept of patriotism, we don't know anymore, people. And I've said this to her. I think, let me bring this up to her and say again, what did I say on this? Patriotism is dead in America. How I am on social media and I've been censored this much and it is dead. I have no doubt I am not alone. There are so many other American white men, and you name it, even other ethnicities. This American empire is collapsing before our eyes. I am not going to have no fucking Indian woman, Daniela, lecture us about patriotism when her faggot husband never served in the military. It's dead. I say again, let me bring this down. I don't really have a problem with Eileen Gook. Again, I think her citizenship should be revoked, but I don't have any anger because she's playing the system because of cuck white men. Are you going to put the blame? It's the same thing I talked about spoiled kids. Are you going to really put the blame on spoiled kids? Of course not. It's the same thing with the military. If the military is dysfunctional, which it is, do you blame the enlisted soldiers or do you blame the officers? You blame the officers. So I don't blame Eileen Gook. She's a smart prostitute. That's how I look at her. She's a very smart prostitute who got very lucky to have white DNA, and she's playing the system. She's playing the system because of white cuck men have just spoiled the system, and white cuck men have betrayed other white cuck men. Look at her husband, who's a congressman. He knows about me. He's a congressman. He has a duty. That guy's a traitor. I would consider him a traitor. I don't really have a problem with Eileen Gook. Just take away her passport, send her back to China, wish her the best of luck. I don't have a problem with that. But anyway, let's go. Let me look at some. So Shane. So let me look at some Shane. So her father's Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh knows about me on my first account because Dinesh was making, if you remember, he made a movie called The Police State, which I agree with. Again, anyone knows about my story knows that the insiders, because Dan Bongino knows about me, and he became the deputy director of the FBI. That's pretty inside. He knows about me. Anyone knows my story, unlike the regular FBI grifters. I don't have a positive story about America. It's not like I wanted to. I just want to be left alone. But I'm not really pro-Republican. I'm not pro-Democrat. I would probably be considered a racist. Like they just, it's not a good story. And they're like, stay away from this guy. And they all did. But he knew about me during the police state because I could tell there was chatter about me. Hey, should we get David Baumblatt in? Because I did. I agreed with the police state. So her father knows about me. And guess who followed me too? Her the wife, so Dinesh's wife and the daughter. The Congressman Gill never followed me, and I think when I first got on social media, he wasn't a congressman at that time. But I say the point when we talk about traitors, there's a difference between a private citizen who should have patriotism, but whatever, and a congressman. Now it's not optional anymore. You have a duty. If it he knows about me. If it crosses his desk that a military veteran has government corruption report, you answer that call because you're taking money from taxpayers. So I'm not interested anymore. No, it's like Donald Trump, when we're talking about patriotism and stuff. Americans are really going to get tired of being lectured to with patriotism because we're going to go into it. I might as well get the cat out of the bag now, even with these Epstein files. Do you know about this prince? What I don't even follow this stuff too. Like I said, I left the West. Remember this prince? Well, who's this Prince Edward getting arrested? When's the last time you heard that a royal was arrested? I don't ever remember in my lifetime. So remember Donald Trump about the Epstein files? Who cares about this stuff? Let's go. I don't know. If a prince gets arrested, that's pretty important. And why is it that the UK is able to arrest high-level people? I still haven't seen it in America. But again, this is back to my point about patriotism. Trump, we need to be patriotic. This Epstein thing, no, forget about it. Are you kidding me? In my entire time in the FBI, all the cloak and dagger stuff that I could just brag about, half of it's horseshit. I still don't think I've ever witnessed something that's so public and secretive of a national security at the same time. It's like, are you kidding me? There's only one reason that could explain it. And my reason is based on common sense. If all the information from the Epstein files would go out, it could be a revolution, a complete collapse of the system based upon lack of faith of the Americans on the amount of corruption going on. That's the only thing. How anyone could talk about patriotism and say the Epstein files, come on, man, this is Trump. Why are we still, who are you still talking about that guy Epstein? Isn't he dead? Let's move on. Are you kidding me? I say again, there was the prince that got arrested in the UK. I've never heard of something like that. That's a pretty big deal. Who else do you think deserves to be arrested based upon probable cause? A lot of people. I don't think we're ever going to find out the whole truth of the Epstein files. That's another thing, but It is what it is. Let me just see here. I see Mighty Magan. It's the same as 511 players born in the country. Yeah, we're going to go back to the race because at the end of the day, when you talk about, and I see this all the time in America, we Americans, there's 350 million plus or minus America. That's a lot of people. I'd be very, very cautious of using the word we because I believe two things. One, if there was ever a military draft, we're not going to do it. So we're not very we. Two, when economic collapse comes to America, I think many people are going to kill each other. So yeah, I'm not on the bandwagon of we. I believe diversity has split us up. These elite corporations, these rich money men, to include Trump and his rich kids, I think there's so much pissed off animosity. Look at me as a military veteran. This is a good thing about coming together, patriotism. No one would have ever predicted in a patriotic society that I would still be talking on social media. I don't give a shit about my channel. People think I'm doing this to make money. Are you kidding me? Do you see the censorship? The thought that I'm still on social media and I'm completely ignored by MAGA, by politicians, and you're telling me we live in a patriotic country? We don't. It's done. You know that. It's going to get worse. Let me just go to a couple more things in the news. So again, with Eileen Gook, I don't have a problem with her. I would just politely revoke her American citizenship, send her to China, and best of wishes. Because again, it's like a spoiled child. She didn't screw up. The white man screwed up. With this black woman, that's another story, and I'd be happy to talk about it another time. But let's go to this one right here. And this is one of the reasons, too. People don't believe me, but I'm telling you, feminism, I say this all the time. This is, the cats thing. But anyway, what is feminism giving white women? White men, by us giving white women the right to vote, one of the worst things we could have ever done. I tell you again, feminism is part of communism. You look, where are all these MAGA women here? Do you think they're supporting me? Not much. We'll see. But what I'm trying to do is continue to show you what's going to happen. And that is the same thing. This system is going to collapse. Give it time. Oh, so here's the tab right here that we should just look. And so I wrote on this. Trump said we move along on this. Are you kidding me? This is not big news, a royal. And what did I say? So I said, let's just make very clear on the Epstein files, my prediction. Prediction number one, we're never going to know the whole truth. They're not going to release it. They're not. None. Two, if they did release all this stuff, it could form a revolution. But so here we have two major arrests. One, we have Donald Trump arresting Maduro, a major player in a foreign country. So Donald Trump is able to arrest high-level people. The UK, I mean, we'll see how it is. I don't know what type of arrest it is. I know it's based upon an indictment, innocent until proven guilty, but it's still a big deal. So the UK government is proving that they could arrest very high-level people, and of course, that person's a British citizen. So what are we waiting for? I don't know. Maybe waiting for Trump to start arresting Americans, politicians, these globalist elites, stuff like that. I haven't seen a major arrest yet. Is it coming? Yeah, we'll see. I still think the economy's gonna go down before then. Let's share this tab here. Her name's Tiffany Fong. I think this is the girl that Elon Musk wanted to have a kid with. Elon's kind of a weird guy. I think he's got ADT or something like that, which makes him pretty smart. But when you study these people, this is from human relations. If you study, my intelligence level is not as high in the math and sciences. Let me do a quick thing on forget. I'll do another time if we want to talk about intelligence. But here's Tiffany Fong. And I said, Tiffany, make your dad stop chasing white men. Do Asian women chase white men? 99% of them, they chase white men. So yeah, go back to China, make your dad proud, stuff like that, Tiffany. But I think Elon Musk wanted to have a kid with her. Nope, not me. Not interested in having mixed kids. No, then we can have another Elon Gook. Then we'll do that. Let's look at again about how feminism has ruined us. This is the woman who's replacing the Trisha McLaughlin, the girl who got fired from the. And here, let me put something too. I guess you weren't able to see that. Oh, that sucks. I was talking about Tiffany Wong, and I didn't click it. My bad. This woman, let me just talk about her quick. Look at her picture right here, 31-year-old. I said something like that. She's a mother of 4. Why isn't she home? Look at her tits sticking out. She looks like a prostitute. But so remember, if you're MAGA, this is what we do. Now, is that a very good-looking woman? Absolutely. Is that our role model of women? I don't know. Why isn't she home taking care of her kids? Why is she a working career woman, number one? 2, I actually find that to be a little bit too sexy. If that's your style, it is what it is. But I don't know why her tits are popping out. But this is what MAGA thinks is awesome. This is what women should be. Screw your kids. Become a career woman. Oh, these are the great working values for that, while they're ignoring the military veteran. Now we'll go on to this one more thing. Veterans. Well, I talked about veterans before. Look at me. Tell me if I'm wrong. A so-called MAGA. Again, if you're a liberal person, you don't like military veterans, I'll buy that for $1. But not these MAGA people. To any white man that is serving, or our military is basically, I've said this many times, our military is basically composed of government mercenaries. Give it time. When our military, because most people aren't dying in the military. The guys who are really the only that are facing true death are usually the special operations guys that are doing missions, but really not now. I mean, sure, in Afghanistan and Iraq, which ended, they were obviously doing light infantry, but I mean, our military hasn't really been pushed to the test. And if people started dying in it, they would be like, this is not what I signed up. I signed up for a nice paycheck, benefits, and pensions, and our military pays pretty good. I'm looking at Shane's comment. Let me go again to the last one, and then we'll end it, and then we'll go to the news. So we'll go here. Oh yeah, this is just now. We're going to be very keen on conspiracy theories. I don't know that much about this girl, Erica Kirk. I didn't even follow her husband. I don't even, what's her husband's name? Whatever, the Kirk guy. I think he was overall good, but there were things about it that I disagree with. And one, he did sound a lot like the Republicans, like it doesn't matter the color of your skin, as long as you work hard. And this, I get it. I think overall, I think Charlie Kirk, that's his name. We'll end it here. I think Charlie Kirk overall had a positive message, but he's still not aligned. And I kept saying, but we're not going to talk about Charlie Kirk. Let's just focus a little bit on his wife, and we're going to start this thing. All I'm saying from Psychology 101 of a wife who's a widow and kids, her behavior is very, very strange. And I'm telling you, if you're a conservative man, you don't want to marry a wife who has traits of competitiveness, traits of she wants to be showy and flashy. Meaning, if this woman has any type of like if I were you and if I find a woman, she either has 0 social media account or once she dates you, it's gone. But if you have these women that are like very much into social media, they want fame, they want fortune, that's a very male trait. And what's happening after Charlie Kirk's death is just, it's odd. I also think that people in the MAGA movement with Donald Trump are also a bit of a cult, and they just get in there and it's the same thing with the ICE thing. I still fully support ICE when it comes to foreign nationals. But those 2 shoots of the woman and I forgot his name, Preddy, they were bad shots. You know, everyone's a law enforcement expert now too. It's like China, everyone's a China expert. They were bad shots. That doesn't mean I have to change my mind. I still think Trump is absolutely right on what he's doing with ICE to kick out illegal foreigners. It is what it is. We got to kick these people out. But I said many times, my best advice, because you got to get to this video. Someone asked me how I would do it. I'm going to do it very simple. In the FBI, we had task force. We had task force where the FBI would lead the task force, but then we would work with local police, we would work with county, we would work with other federal agencies. There could be an ICE task force where it's primarily composed of ICE and local police together. And what would be their joint mission? ICE focuses on foreign nationals. Whether the foreign national is here legally or illegally, either way, they're foreign nationals, and let ICE focus on that. But if they have any problems, and I get it, some of these protesters, these liberal lunatics, are criminals, and some of them need to be put in jail. I didn't say shot. If you're protesting or whatever, and you get out of hand, you may need to get arrested. Let the local police do it. let the local police do it, because the local police, I don't have time for this video. There's a reason for it. One quick reason for it is when you're local police, you're usually born and raised in that community. If you do something bad to a U.S. citizen, your family, your reputation is going to be known. When you're a federal agent and you do something bad, they could rotate you out of there fast. So if I'm in Minneapolis, I'm an FBI agent, and I do a bad shot, they could transfer me out of Minneapolis to Miami, Florida, for safety. So federal agents can sometimes step over U.S. citizens without having that reputation where the local police who are born and raised there. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but ICE, keep going forward when it comes to foreign nationals, but those were two bad shots. But when you run into these liberal, violent, or illegal protesters, let the local police handle them. And if they're violent, then they get shot, but those are bad shots. Let's go on. So this is what I want to do here. I want to do a couple of videos, and I want to focus on a big thing about China, because let me just start this video quick here. There's two videos we're going to do. Let me just start this one video here so we can get it.
A new study shows an alarming trend revealing how people across the country view Asian Americans.
Brady Wakayama with our Seattle sister station spoke with local Asian Americans and a University of Washington ethnic studies professor about what this survey found.
The Asian American Foundation is a nonprofit group focused on combating anti-Asian hate and serving Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. The organization just released its annual survey on how Americans perceive Asian Americans, and the results are hurtful for many.
Seeing the results from the survey was upsetting.
A new survey released by the Asian American Foundation is raising concerns.
Why is it Asian?
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're only going to watch two videos. This is a short one, but then we're going to get to a Chinese woman. The first thing we have to come to the conclusion is multiracial societies don't work. They never have. They never will. It doesn't matter. Again, we're going to focus on Chinese Americans because the next one's about a Chinese girl. It's pretty interesting, but it doesn't work. And I look to the black people in America because you're of a particular ethnicity that I could explain other videos, but I tell it again to the black people. If you don't like the way you're treated by white people, who treats you better than white people? No one. Even black people don't treat you that well. So I'm telling you, like it or not, when this society eventually collapses, you're going to look back and say, wow, the amount of tolerance that white men took for this stuff. But I'd say to the Asian people, multiracial societies don't work. Where did I learn that? I learned it from Asia. You're Asian. You're proud to be Asian. Guess what your Asian culture says? Multiracial societies don't work.
Why is it Middle Eastern? Why is it Africans? Why is it just black and brown skinned folks? How come we have to always prove our Americanness?
No, it doesn't. Every ethnicity has their own stumbles. You know, Asians got their things. The Indians got their things. Every multiracial societies don't work.
Ron Eckelberg is a longtime member of Mach Phi Kung Fu, a Seattle group that specializes in traditional Chinese lion and dragon dance performances. He's proud to be a Chinese and German American.
Oh my God, did you hear that? He's a Chinese German American. Do you hear this stuff? So he's Chinese, he's German, he's American. Okay. I would say you're not German. You're not German. You might have some German DNA in you. American is a citizenship. I don't think you're Chinese, dude. Why don't you want to live in China? Because you want to be white. That's not my problem. That's your problem. Blame your mother and father DNA. I'm sure he's so proud that he has German DNA, but he doesn't have enough of it that he's Asian. It's not my problem. I would say be proud that you're Asian and go back to Asia.
But is still grappling with the results of the survey that involved nearly 5,000 people across the country.
Feels horrible, right? I'm Chinese American, and knowing that my...
Notice they always emphasize they're Chinese American, just like African American. Why? Because it's important to them. I don't blame them. Race is real, but they have to emphasize it, that they look upon themselves racially first. And guess what white people do? We also look at them racially first. It is what it is. You think I'm in China? Everyone says white guy, Lao Wai, Byron. It's just, it is what it is. So they acknowledge that race is preeminent. And guess what? Same thing we do. Race is real and it is what it is.
So my friends, my family, right? My community down here, we are not a threat.
The results reveal 3 key findings. 40% of Americans think Asian Americans are more loyal to their country of origin than the U.S. That's double of what it was.
So make that point, because in the next video we're going to talk about it. Is that true? Probably, meaning it is. I agree with it, generally speaking. But let me emphasize now, but I don't forget. The next video we're going to talk. It's an interesting video. It's with the Chinese girl. The reason that loyalty is such a big deal with China is we're just going to take an African American. Is African American more loyal to Africa? He's more loyal racially to Black people. But because Africa is so underdeveloped that Black people don't really are into it. So China, if you go to China, say 30 years ago, China wasn't very developed. So the Chinese Americans were still loyal to the Chinese people as a whole. But now that China is becoming more and more powerful, more and more Chinese are like, hey, this is good. So what am I trying to say? Meaning if tomorrow, all of a sudden, Africa was the most developed country in the world, the richest, the best country in the world, African Americans would leave. And they would not let us go to Africa. And they would put their loyalties to Africa. Meaning the people that come to America really don't have patriotism. They just want a good life and money because their countries don't have it. But if their countries did have it, that's why it's very different for Japanese. Japanese in Asia are less likely to immigrate to America. Why? Because Japan's a very developed country. And as China becomes more and more developed, less Chinese are going to want to immigrate to America and more Chinese Americans are going to leave. And if you say, hey, man, I thought you're American, born and raised in America, America first. Screw you, man. A lot of money in China. China's a good place. I'm going to China. And then you as a white guy say, can I go to China too? Fuck you, dude. You're a white guy. China belongs to China. The Blacks would do the same thing. What you're trying to do is after World War II and more than 200 years, the West has been generally the leaders. It's hard for us to imagine another country becoming extremely developed and prosperous where people don't want to live in America. It's happening. And when it does, you're going to realize when you're a racial minority overseas, race matters and they have no loyalty to you. So these racial groups in America, they're not in America because it's patriotism. They're in America because it's the best they have. African Americans are just not going to go to Africa. Look at the other. That's why a lot of Europeans will not immigrate to America. Why? Because Europe's a good place. So the more developed your country is, the less likely you are to come to America. So these people are not coming to America really for a sense of loyalty and patriotism. Look at Eileen Gook. She went there for the good times. And when China gave her a better time money, guess what she did? Boom, I'm with China. Eileen Gook is a great example of basically all of them. They're not that much different. I don't blame them. That's just the way it is. I blame the white man for allowing that to happen. But it's just better opportunities were in America. And so they come and they're going to leech off us. They're going to call us. They're going to do whatever. But at the end of the day, are they loyal to us? No way. You're going to see when this country starts falling, it's going to get bad. Let me go back.
In 2021, more than a quarter of Americans are concerned that Chinese Americans are a threat to U.S. society, especially when it comes to national security. And more than half of Americans don't fully agree that the Japanese American incarceration was wrong.
I think it revealed, at least for someone like me who's been following this for a while, that things have not changed much.
Connie, so
you're right, because it's the laws of nature. Race is real. The same reason it hasn't changed in Asia. These are some of the most racist people I've ever seen in my life, the Asians. So that's where I learned it. I learned from the Asians.
Is a University of Washington American Ethnic Studies professor. She also happens to be Eckelberg's mother. She believes there are several factors, including the rise in Asian hate during COVID-19 and where the country is at economically.
A lot of it does have to do with misinformation, but also nowadays, especially against Asia, it's economic competition. I think America is not what it used to be. A lot of countries are starting to do better. Many of those.
So notice what she says. I'm telling you, to you white people, once the economic train starts doing bad in America, and these other countries do better, you are going to see the rats jump from the ship. Just like Eileen Gook, she took the money from China, but why is she still living in America? Because it's a better life, and she loves white men. But if the life was better in China, she'd be gone in a heartbeat. Do you really blame her? No, you blame white men for building a system like this. But it is what it is. Back to Shane. Shane, I think my story is probably either one, who knows, never's going to get out. A civil war's coming. What'll probably happen is like anything is, one, a lot of what I spoke about initially, we'll go to the last video here, but when I talk about civil war and stuff like that, it's hyperbolic in the beginning. But once America starts going down, what I'm talking about is going to become more mainstream. And then sooner or later, like anyone, that's how the FBI grifters got in. Dan Bongino, it happens in life. It's like leadership where you need a helping hand from someone in influence. Someone sooner or later in a moderate level of influence is probably going to reach out and say, what the hell's going on with this guy, David Baumblatt? Well, I never heard his story. And boom, they're going to pick me up and that's it. That's usually what's going to happen. So it'll be a combination of two things. One, my prediction will come true. This American empire is going down. So what started with many people like this guy's crazy. You're going to see it. I mean, America's going to go down. So then the rhetoric is going to make more sense. Same thing when I left the FBI in 2007 and I said the FBI is corrupt. No one would believe me. Now people are starting to say, yeah, I do think this FBI is really corrupt. It just is what it is. Or the Republicans and Democrats, it's a uni party. These principles are going to start becoming more mainstream. To even include, I said Trump, best president of my entire lifetime. He's not going to solve it though. He's not going to solve it because he's technically still not a nationalist. And like I said, it's someone from influence, but not high up. I mean, we're not talking Fox News because they work for the corporation, or maybe like an ex-Fox News. It could be like a Tucker Carlson, meaning someone who doesn't need a paycheck for the system anymore, something like that. Eventually, I think they're going to pick me up and do that, and then it's going to go. But like I said, you have to ask yourself, how much has America changed? Even Donald Trump. Remember Donald Trump running for president the first time? How much he was mocked as a racist, as a radical. And now, people to include me, but I said it immediately when he was running, he's the best president I've ever seen. But what you are starting to see is the MAGA people now have turned into a cult. They think he's perfect. And I've said many times, he's the best, but I never said he's the ideal and he's going to solve the problem. He's not going to solve it. This is kind of where the empire is going to go. Let me go to that. Tucker called out Israel now. Yeah, if you look at Tucker's a good example. If you look how Tucker used to talk on Fox News and now there's a difference. Why do I think? Because he's got millions of dollars of money now. And I think it's a combination of two things. One, he doesn't need money anymore. He's independent. And two, I do think there's a quality when you get older and older. Tucker, I think, is about my age. He's got kids where he starts thinking more about principles because he's like, dude, I could be dead tomorrow. So Tucker, I'm assuming, I don't follow, but there's a difference. There's a difference between his Fox News days and now. He has changed. I think it's, again, two things. One, he's basically loaded with money. That's a big difference. But two, I also think he's becoming an older man and he's realizing that who cares about my life? I care about my children, like his children. And he's starting to realize that you as an adult, sure, you might have got rich. Sure, you might have kids. But if the system's not corrected, you're not going to have any grandchildren. It's over. And I think you might be realizing that, like, oh my God, we have a big, it is. I'm telling you, the American empire is going to fall. Anyone looking at my situation knows, what do I keep saying? The systems aren't working. We're going to do this one video. I thought it's an interesting video, and I'm going to explain it real quick.
China, is that correct?
Let me go this video. So I don't know if anyone's seen this before. This is, I don't even know what it's like. I think this guy's name is Brian, who does this pod. This is about, I don't know, picking up chicks. He talks about feminism. I think it's embarrassing that even men, we have talks like this with women. It's like a father having a debate with their 10-year-old son. Women were never meant to be in leadership positions. I mean, the amount of power they have is so. I'm not going to focus on the feminism part of this, but there's some weird topics. The amount of power that women have attained in America, which was not done for their merits, but it was also done because men subsidized their power by even giving them the right to vote. That would be one thing. I mean, allowing white women the right to vote was probably one of the worst. So just looking at this picture right here of what's going in, of you have all these, I don't know, bimbos. we'll just say bimbos. They're on stage and they could talk. Like, just get them in the bed. Meaning, if we're going to talk about leadership, the table's going to be filled with men. Men are going to talk about the women. So let me just look at that. But what I want to focus here, and so you can see it, is you've got this guy, Brian, and I don't know much about his background, but he's going to talk with this Chinese woman or this girl. And this Chinese girl is going to say that her loyalty is with China. Now, she's a Chinese citizen, but she has an American green card, which we could go into that. Why that girl ever was able to get a green card goes again to cuck white men. But you're seeing Brian have trouble understanding how is this fair? Because I'm telling you, the system is going to fall. A lot of people want to attack this Chinese girl. But I say again, when you have spoiled children, you don't attack the children. You go to the parents. And who are the parents in America? White men. Where are we? We're nowhere. We have turned into absolute disloyal cucks. But anyway, let's go. It's pretty interesting because she puts him on the spot and he has trouble answering it.
You were born in China, is that correct? Anybody else like born not in the United States? I mean,
I'm born in England.
but you don't live here, so.
No, I don't live here.
Anybody else?
I mean, we could, and trust me, we're talking about China, but look at England. England has turned into, I don't know, Pakistanis, Indians, Arabs. That country's over. But so I keep saying we're focusing on China because that's my expertise. China is growing into a major power, but we could do this all with other ethnicities. It's sort of the same thing.
Anyone born somewhere else? Okay. You're Indian and you're Indian, is that correct? Do you feel strong cultural ties to your heritage or your culture, like Indian culture? Or?
Yeah, because there's like so many different ethnic groups in India since it's a subcontinent. And I'm Punjabi personally, and like the big stereotype with Punjabis is you'll always know because they'll always tell you because we're really prideful people.
Okay. What about you, Molly?
I mean, I feel a lot of like pride for my culture, but honestly, like my parents had a love marriage. And they both came here when they were really young, and they also, I don't know any like Indian languages. They spoke fully English in our house. Like
Gotcha.
I know a lot of immigrant parents.
Okay.
They'll speak their native language in their house, and their kids are raised up on it. No, my parents.
Yeah, once you go to these non-Western countries, I mean, it's white. White is right. These people want to be white. They want to learn English. They want to go to America. I mean, it's on and on. But these women, their dreams is to be with white men. It's 99% of them.
Spoke fully English.
Sure.
And also they were religious, but they didn't.
I'm going to fast forward because I want to get to the part with the Chinese girl. But again, it's all similar. But I do want to mention it. The reason why I say again, the reason why the Chinese girl will stick out more than the black girl will. Most of these African Americans in America, they don't even know where they came from anymore. Why? Because they don't care about Africa. Because they really like white. Man, you think what's the easiest girl to get if you're a white man? Black women. Easiest women to get. So the reason why we don't have that loyalty issues is because if you look at a black woman, say, and she found out her ethnicity, she's like, I'm from Nigeria. Okay. Do you have loyalty to Nigeria? She'd be like, no way. I don't want to go to Nigeria. Now she has loyalty. There's racial. She sees racial conscious. She's jealous. She wants to be with white men. And these are other concepts. But it's different Nigeria, which is an undeveloped country, versus China. I'm telling you firsthand, I've seen stuff in China that is making America look underdeveloped. So if all of a sudden tomorrow Nigeria was the richest country on earth, fashion, whatever, then all of a sudden African Americans would be like, hey man, I'm African, I'm going back to Africa. So that's why you're seeing this more with Chinese, because China is becoming more powerful. It's becoming more developed. This same thing would happen. Indian people, I've been to India. Trust me, it's not the same as China. India is, man, I'm going to say it's like 20 years behind China. I mean, 20 years in some way. It's not that appealing. I think it's got a lot of potential. It's going to grow a lot more money. Thanks to the globalists that we are going to make India better. But it's about 20 years behind China. China, on the other hand, it is really developing into a very developed country in many ways. So now the Chinese Americans are like, hey, never thought about it, but China, man, move there, stuff like that. So now they're starting to get that loyalty.
We never went to temple much. Like I don't consider myself religious at all, so
Gotcha.
I'm naturalized. Every time I go back would be like an hassle to have to get a visa and like get approved. But then right now where I'm sitting with a yes,
But you don't have U.S. citizenship yet.
we never went to temple much. Like I
My
don't
bad.
consider myself religious at all, so I'm not super Indian.
So you moved to the United States when you were 5?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you have Chinese citizenship.
Yes.
But you don't have U.S. citizenship yet.
I don't, and I don't plan on getting it.
Oh, you
Now, something to be understood. China does not allow dual nationality. If they did, she'd become an American citizen. Now, there's interesting, you know, and we're going to get. I know her stories. When you're in China, you understand the different families. But we just make it known. China does not allow dual nationalities. If they did, of course, she'd become an American citizen. So she stopped at becoming a permanent resident in America. Why would we even allow her to become that and a citizen? You don't blame her. Who do you blame? You blame white men for this.
don't plan on getting it. But
I could have already gotten it because I'm 18 already, but I don't plan on that.
So exactly. So she could become an American citizen if she wants. Amazing, because if you're a white guy, assuming you can never become a Chinese citizen, you're lucky if you become a permanent resident in China. I think they've handed out about 10,000 permanent residences in China so far. Do the math. 1 billion people, 10,000 permanent. They don't. Even a permanent resident is unbelievably difficult to get. But again, if you're a white guy, you will never become a Chinese citizen ever. And what do we do in America? We hand them out like Cracker Jack boxes, these American citizenship. Do you blame her or do you blame us? Leadership, you blame us.
Naturalizing, so.
Oh, why is that?
Because I do have plans to return back to China and like.
So now she's talking about return back to China. What does this mean? I will develop, again, not every girl, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. She comes from a very rich family. You just know it. The saying in China is probably a fu or die. Fu or die means next generation rich, but she's got very high contacts in China and she doesn't want to burn broke bridges because she's already a permanent resident in America. So she can live in America. She's got the permanent resident. She doesn't want to give up her Chinese citizen because, like I said, China is not Nigeria or Kenya now. The Chinese are realizing this, that the future is going to China. And you're going to start seeing more and more Chinese Americans that were born and bred in America. And now, just like Eileen Gook is going to realize, wow, China is turning into a pretty good deal. And they're going to go to China. Why? It's all about the money, the prestige. And of course, they're Chinese, so they're welcome there. That's their home. And then when you come as a white guy, say, hey, man, we're Americans. I'll go to your country. We're family. No, you're not. You're not family at all there. Oh, my bad.
Language in the house and their kids are raised up on it. No, my parents. So I'd say like for 10 months out of the year, I'm here. And then like the summertime, I go back to my.
Since you were 5?
Well, not every summer. Sometimes.
So she goes back. She's doing school here, goes back and forth. This is what it is.
Summers, like I have plans and like I have like tutoring, like I have like extracurriculars, but when I have the time, yeah, pretty much. I'm still pretty connected to the culture over there, if that's what you're saying. Like I'm fluent.
Yeah. So remember, what she's different. If you're poor Chinese, you will leave China and you're throwing your eggs in this basket in America. If you're rich Chinese, she's rich Chinese, they are still connected with China. And they're only in America to basically utilize it for their own personal gains. So these stuff about these immigrants coming to make our place better, no, not at all.
In my language.
Yeah,
and
you
like,
speak Mandarin.
Yeah.
But you lived there entirely for your first 5 years?
Yes, yes.
And then you came here and you spend most of the time here in the United States?
Yeah, after that, after I moved here.
I'm trying to think, if you spend like 1 to 2 months, maybe it's like.
Brian is having trouble here because Brian knows something is wrong, but there's nothing you can do about it. You could tell. Okay, so she spends a month here. It is what it is, Brian. She's a permanent resident in America. She's a Chinese citizen. That's what we allow them to do.
70-30%? Is that fair to say?
70-30.
70-30%, 70% of the United States. And your parents don't plan to naturalize to the United States either? Is that correct?
They don't either. They are just waiting for us to finish school and then they're.
So again, when the parents do not want to immigrate, these are two. In China, just so you know, the majority of Chinese, I would say, are poorer than Americans. Some of them are really poor. It's growing though. The middle class is growing. But then you have it's many like Russia, and a lot of them is corruption. There's no doubt about it. There are oligarchy families that would make guys like you and me poor. It's so much money. It's unbelievable. It is so much, especially in these big cities. I'm curious if she says where she's from. You don't need to come from Beijing or Shanghai, but there's a correlation. But the rich families, no way. They're not giving, because you got to remember, in China, you don't become rich without the government's blessings. You're not giving up your citizenship. Very different. So she's a different standard. Her parents are probably filthy rich Chinese. They send her to America to learn, to get that permanent residency, not the citizenship, because they don't want her to give up the Chinese citizenship. And her loyalty is with China. And Brian is having a tough time because he doesn't realize this is our society. But yeah, let me keep going. I'll say it later.
They're also going back to China.
Okay. Are your parents like diplomats or something, or what do they do?
What do you mean, like for work, or?
Yeah, for work.
Well, my mom, she's a stay-at-home mom. She doesn't do anything, and my dad works at Apple.
At Apple, okay.
Like
He's like a software engineer, or?
No, he does something like in HR, but he, yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
He's the only one that works in our family.
So he's probably at Apple, and again, we're taking this as a grain of salt that everything's true, but he's probably at Apple, also working with, and again, it's all in the blur lines. But anyway, he's thinking, we're going to come back to China, and we're going to take what we learned from Apple. We're going to either open up our own company in China or work with the Chinese version of Apple, Huawei, whatever it would be. But their loyalty, they're coming back, but they are not the typical Chinese family. I think Brian was sort of allude to that. Are they diplomats? Are they that? But I could say without a doubt, they are not the typical Chinese family. They are at a much higher level.
And
Okay.
he's supporting.
You have siblings?
Yeah, I have an older sister who goes to UCSB and a younger brother who's 10 years old.
10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And are they going to stay here until he graduates from college?
High school,
Or
and then at least
18?
high school. Yeah.
So another 8 years.
Yeah.
And are you going to stay here until your parents move back, or you're moving back as soon as you're done with college?
Well, it depends on like where I locate.
Now, remember, this question is the same with Eileen Gu. It depends. If life is good in America, she'll stay. If life is better in China, she'll go. It is what it is. And people get angry, but that's what we are in America. We are a corporation. There's no loyalty. No one has any loyalty anymore. Brian is going to get a little perturbed because I saw this clip once. But at the end of the day, Brian, this is our system here. We don't really have loyalties. We're basically a corporation in America.
Based on my career, because I'm trying to get my CPA after my degree. So we'll just see. I'm not sure. But my long-term goal is to do Big Four accounting in like a city in China. So.
Huh, interesting. So how do you, I guess, like, how do you come? I'm not maybe unaware of the.
So Brian is having a lot of Americans have no understanding of this too. It's going to happen though. As America continues to decline, as whites become a minority, you're going to start seeing more and more white people have sort of these epiphanies that Brian's having. Brian right now, in a human intelligence standpoint, he's having an internal challenge where he's trying to challenge his beliefs that he was taught, but he's realizing that the system's not working and he doesn't know what to say.
Process. If the goal is not to naturalize, how do you come and stay in the United States like long term? Like
I don't know. It's called a permanent resident. We gave them. If you have a permanent resident in America, you could live here as long as you want. It's our system, Brian.
Father have a H-1B visa or?
No,
I don't know what it would be categorized as, but.
I actually am not too familiar with how.
So also remember that these families of rich kids, to keep their children, I mean, it's very clandestine. Many times the children are not aware of what their families truly do, meaning the mother and the father. So her sense of ignorance can be true. Like, what does your father exactly do? Where are you getting the money? And she's like, I don't. She will eventually. There's a reason why when it comes to laundering money back and forth, a lot of the corrupt officials use their kids. But it could be absolutely true. She's not quite sure about her mom and her dad, but it is kind of weird how much money they have in this. So she could be telling the truth. She just doesn't really know because her parents aren't going to tell her.
how we really got here.
Your
or
dad-
anything.
your
I just
dad's
know
a spy,
like
bro.
we knew people.
So see, this is the problem. Brian is like, are they spies? No, you don't, Brian, knowing that a lot of times they could be very rich Chinese, still working for the government in whatever ways. Their loyalty is with China, but they're not official spies in that sense. But their loyalty is to China. And they are coming to America. They could still be doing everything legally. They're working, they're learning, but eventually they're going to leave and take whatever they got in America. Same thing with Eileen Gu. What she did is technically legal on our society. Is she a spy for China? No, she's just a disloyal U.S. citizen. Not her fault, fault of the white man. But a lot of times Brian wants to think this could be when we use the word spy, we're trying to think that is some type of very Tulabia the Jotting. It's a very, no, it could just be the normal rich Chinese family, but they're rich and it is what it is. That means they got their money from the government. So their loyalty stays with China, but the Chinese government, not in a sense of espionage, it's go to America, learn from America, get everything you want, but stay loyal to America. So not like a sense of any formalized spy, but that's just the way it is. Brian has a very trouble with that because everyone comes to America and then we're one big family, work together. And he's kind of very naive on that this system is not going to work anymore.
Who are just able to do it for us. I don't know what you want me to say about that.
But you guys
I'm
are
just
here,
here.
like you guys are here legitimately, not like illegally or something. Okay.
You can't call ice on me. I'm here legally.
No, I'm just curious, like what the categorization is, because there's different ways to stay here long term.
Utilizing your school. Oh, I saw that comment. Yep, exactly.
You don't need to justify yourself.
That's interesting. I have a question for you. It's interesting though because you're not planning to naturalize. You're not planning to gain citizenship. Although you've lived the majority of your life in the United States, you've enjoyed the benefits of living in the United States. You've enjoyed the prosperity of living in the United States, the education system of the United States. Did you go to a public school for high school?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a question for you.
Go ahead.
So imagine a completely neutral, hypothetical situation where neither the United States or China is the aggressor, neither has done anything unethical, and there's no moral dimension, just a military conflict that exists. In that value neutral scenario, to which side would your allegiance be? The United States or China?
China, I'd say.
Okay.
So Brian is sort of laughing at this like he's almost in disbelief. She's a Chinese citizen. I could care less if she was born and raised in America. She's Chinese. She's pretty much born and raised in China. She's not an American citizen. She's got a green card. I don't know. I mean, no one's loyal. I mean, even when Brian says, I can't, I don't know, Brian. What if I said, Brian, my name's David Baumblatt. I'm a military veteran. Can you help me out? I have government corruption. I'm not welcome back. Brian would be like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I can't help you out. So, meaning what Brian wants to say is, man, we're Americans, man. It's patriotism, America. But what are you talking about, Brian? Let's just get the cat out of the bag. We are a very disloyal country. Why? Because we're a corporation. Our politicians are not loyal with us. Our corporations are not. Even American citizens. The gook sitting in front of you right now, Brian, she would fucking probably toast you if she wanted to. We live in. Before you can, leadership 101, before you can fix the problem, you have to admit we have a problem. We're not a loyal country anymore, Brian. Brian, if there was a war, so I want to use the same comment to Brian. Brian, if there was a war and there was a military draft for America, are you going to join? Would he? I doubt he would. I don't blame him. I think he's smart. But we have to admit, before we look, just same thing with that Dinesh Seuss, the fucking girl who talked about patriotism, and yet her husband is a congressman who's ignored me. We are in no place right now to start talking about you're not, who's patriotic? What, the MAGA people? Oh, they're fucking patriotic. I've seen it firsthand. We don't care about each other. So I'm not saying with this Chinese girl, I'm not giving her a pass, but I wouldn't be lecturing her because I could tell you something. I've learned more about loyalty in China, meaning with the Chinese to their government, than I've seen in America. The Chinese are, but this is where Brian, I don't know, Brian, like I said, Brian, I'm a military veteran. Could you help me out? No, man. Brian, there's a military draft. You going to join America? No. Then where are we? Why don't we just admit we are not a patriotic nation anymore? And that's one of the reasons the American empire is going to fall.
And that's obviously biased because I'm Chinese from China and most of my family's there. But
Right.
like you said, like you're confused why like I don't want to naturalize spending here, being in the U.S. for like such a long period of time.
So remember, if this was a black girl from Nigeria, of course she's coming to America. She wants American citizen. Nigeria. This is China. China's growing. If this was, say, 30 years ago or 50 years ago, it'd be different. The Chinese are like, we are making our home. The Chinese know it. The future, China's future looks a lot better than America's future. And they're putting their bets where it should be. It is what it is. That's what, like I said. So an African girl would be like, man, we're loyal. I don't know. Maybe African Americans are loyal because Africa is not a very good place. But what if it was? What if Nigeria all of a sudden turned into be the best economic country in the world? You think they would stay in America? I think they would ditch us in a heartbeat. And if we tried to move to Nigeria and say, hey, man, we're brothers, we're all Americans, no, ain't happening.
I think like being here for a long period of time made me realize that I personally like my life in China better. Like it's more convenient, it's easier. Like politics aside,
most of your life here.
Yes, correct, but not by choice because I go to school here.
Sure.
Like once this is over, of course I want to be back home, like where I feel happiest.
All right, I guess that's interesting.
And for me, home is China.
Again, Brian is having trouble with this because we're also brainwashed. America's the best country on earth. America's best. Why do you want? America's declining. I'm not saying go to China. Remember, she's Chinese ethnicity. That's a totally different world. But you get people there, they might be moving to Europe, maybe Eastern Europe. I mean, there's a lot of places in the world. But the problem is, as America continues to decline, America is going to look less and less appetizing to live. And all these Americans like, well, I care less how bad it is. I'm an American. I have patriotism. I don't know. I'm a military veteran. I'm not even welcome back in America. Can you help me out? No, fuck you, David. Well, there we go. That's sort of my point. This is a sinking ship, people.
China, not the United States.
I wonder if I don't even know if would that be possible for an American to do in China what your parents like. I don't know if
it's not possible.
And I don't know if you gave.
Okay, good. So she's admitting the truth.
That answer, or if an American gave the answer you gave in China, how that would go over. But
not very good. If you're an American in China, you better keep your patriotism, if you have any, to America on the down low. That's all. I believe, well, let's just, if I was having, and I've had, if I was, now, a lot of the people know about my situation. A lot of people don't. I keep it private. I'm not like going around China. But anyway, let's just keep it to public settings, like whatever. You're in China, you're in a restaurant, this and that. Now, if you're visiting China on a tourist visa, they're not going to really have these talks with you. But if you're living in China, a lot of these, kids are English teachers. These topics may come up now, and it is getting very sensitive if you're an American citizen. All I could just say, there's so many ways to slice and dice this topic about what Brian has asked for. But if you're an American in China, and you're patriotic with America and you're willing to die for America, and if China and America ever went into war, you'd fight for America, you better keep that to yourself. That's just it. You better keep that to yourself. The Chinese are probably assuming that. That's why they're looking at you. But if you keep it to yourself or you keep it very on the down low and polite, you should be fine. But if you're just sort of matter of fact, well, yeah, I think that you could run into some problems. So he's right. In America, we just don't care. It sucks. America sucks. They don't care about us. No one cares. It's a corporation. We look around. China's different. They view themselves as a country, as a people. And for you to have those open and frank talks would be very disrespectful.
Very well. Correct.
But luckily for us, America has pretty robust freedoms, especially related to.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Freedoms. Not so much. The amount of censorship in America is getting through the roof.
Speech, perhaps unprecedented on the global stage. But okay, that's interesting. I mean, my argument does crumble. It crumbles a little bit in the sense that you're not a citizen of the United States. You're not trying to naturalize. So like, it kind of makes sense. But it is interesting. It's like you have lived the majority of your life here, although you're 18, so you've been under the, I don't know if control is the right word, but like you've been under the authority of your parents for your whole life, basically.
Yeah.
So like when you're 15, you can't be like, fuck you, mom, I'm going back to China. You can't do that, really.
Yeah.
Your parents have authority over you. They're your guardians. And
Correct.
but it is interesting. It is an interesting thought.
I think it comes down to this. The problem that Brian's having, I've had this, is he's looking, it's not fair. Why do these foreigners in these other countries, they have the option of being in America, of doing the American thing, but also having a home country where we don't. We don't have it. I'm going to give you a story. I met a woman from Eastern Europe. I think it was Lithuania. She actually she went to New York. She did law school in New York. And she lived in America, New York, for about 10 years. And she left. She did a stint in Beijing. That's where I met her in Beijing. And then she went back to Lithuania. And we talked when we were in Beijing. And this is what she said. It's pretty interesting. She goes, America's great, wow, wow, wow. But she goes, I found out that the culture in America, and I get what she's talking about. One of the reasons I left, I just couldn't take the culture anymore. The liberalism, the globalism, everyone is just, working. There's no family. And she goes, I really missed Lithuania. And so she just went to Beijing for a quick 6 months. She did like a 6 months project. That's where we just met. And then she went back to Lithuania. Why? Because she goes, I wanted to be around my family again. And when she talked about family, her extended her culture. And I looked at her, I said, isn't that a luxury for you? She didn't understand. She goes, what do you mean? I said, what do a lot of Americans, can they go home to? Nothing. America is turning into a toilet bowl. So as an American, you either enjoy the toilet bowl, or you could be like me and take a risk and be a foreigner. But if you're from Eastern Europe, if you're from, even Africa, even though they don't want to go back to Africa, but China, you have a homeland. So it's kind of like America. So your homeland is your wife and America is your mistress. It's kind of both. So if the mistress doesn't work out, you still go home to your wife. But who do we have in America? Nothing but a bunch of whores here. It's mistress. We don't have that option. And I think Brian is feeling like it's not fair. Like she's getting all the benefits of America, but then she's like, yeah, screw it. I'm going to go to China because China's doing very well. Can Brian go to China? No, I'm telling you, you could try and it's very difficult, but you're never going to fit in. You're never going to get a citizenship. Hong Kong is better, but it's changing. And I think white people are realizing that too. Where is our homeland? We don't have a homeland. China is a homeland for the Chinese. You're Indian. You go down to Japan now. You look at the politics. Japan now is going really heavy on far right nationalism. Good for them because they want to protect their homeland. So everyone comes to America, this cultural melting pot of a toilet bowl, and we realize we don't have a country and we don't have a homeland. But all those other people, those ethnic groups who tell us we're racist, at the end of the day, they could say, something, I'm punching out. I'm going back home. Where do we go? Good luck. Because I could tell you something. I don't have any regrets for leaving America, but it's hard. It's a very difficult life in some ways. You got to know what you're doing. But whose blame do I put on America turning into a toilet bowl? I don't blame anyone but white men. I really don't. No one. If your ethnicity is Western European, if you're a heterosexual man, if you're a Christian man or believe in Christian faith, you have absolutely failed. To include me. Now, one of the things I did was I left. At least I'm not going to put up with that stuff. But still, all the blame is on white men as far as I'm concerned. Who allowed white women the right to vote? White men. Who allowed all that? It always comes back to white men. But I think that's where Brian is having that problem. Like, it's not fair. It's not. It's not her fault, though. It's your fault, Brian. It's our fault. It's white men.
We've asked this question before to people who have like dual citizenship or who naturalized as American citizens. Like we had one girl who came from.
We want to talk about Israeli Americans. Think about Israeli Americans dual citizenships. Where do you think their loyalty is to?
I think it was Colombia, was it? Do you remember, Mary, that episode? We had a girl who came here, immigrated here from Colombia, she wasn't a legal immigrant, became a naturalized American citizen. And she said that her allegiance was still to Colombia. And I found that interesting. But in your case, it's a bit different.
Well, I would look at Brian. I'm like, I don't know, Brian, what is allegiance to America now? Who's an American? I mean, this is where Brian is sort of getting on that patriotic bandwagon. He's like, Americans need to be patriotic. Brian, it would be a funny skit if all of a sudden it flipped to me talking to Brian, say, Brian, my name's David. I'm a military veteran. Can you help me out? Sorry, dude. Or Brian, this is the U.S. government. We're at war. We need to be drafted. Can you be drafted? Boom. So, Brian, we get a lot of these. It's like the MAGA people. They think by being a patriot, all you have to do is wave the American flag. That's all I got to do, man. My name's Kid Rock, and I fucking wave the American flag, and I say Trump's the best president, and that's basically what makes me a patriot. I looked at all these military veterans who went and died in these wars, corrupt wars, but we give them the benefit of the doubt. The military veterans didn't know. That's a sacrifice. How do we treat military veterans? Like a pile of dog shit in America? That's what I would say. But there's other ways to be a patriot, but we just like to talk, just like the corporations do. But I would say Brian's got to watch it. He's sort of getting on his high horse and saying, I'm patriotic, I'm this. I don't know. I don't find Americans in general, to include MAGA people, very patriotic. And the way they treat military veterans, pretty bad. It's pretty shameful.
I don't know. I think we're cooked in America. Honestly, look, I gotta be, chat. Let me ask the chat.
Why do you think I want out?
It's interesting. So what you're going to see, though, is I've said this many times. When I left America in 2010, I don't have any statistics, obviously, but I felt I was more, I guess, an early bird, because when I left in 2010 and I talked about the collapse of America, it wasn't mainstream. It's changing now. Even what Brian, more and more Americans are realizing, like I do, this system is beyond repair. And it's too powerful. You are going to get bulldozed. Look at me. I left America 15 years ago, and I'm still getting bulldozed by the United States government. Here's a great something that I really need to do. It's pretty interesting. We all like the Star Wars movies, right? How do we look at the Star Wars movie? We look at ourselves as the Jedi Knight, Skywalker, and we look at the evil Darth Vader Empire. If you go to the world outside of America, what do they look at the Star Wars movie as? They look at America as the Empire, that we're Darth Vader, and they're the Rebel Alliance. But what you're trying to see more and more Americans is this American empire is going down, and they're going to take you along with it. The Constitution is nothing. I mean, it's a piece of paper, but you are starting to see more and more Americans thinking, we are really turning into an American empire. And when this empire starts sinking, they're going to take everyone with us. But that's something new. You're starting to see more and more Americans realize that it's beyond repair, and we're not powerful enough. So one of the ways to help yourself is to leave. But then people are like, but that's unpatriotic. What are you talking about, you little faggot? You're telling a military veteran who served in the military, you never served, that it's unpatriotic? I don't know. Why don't you help me report government corruption? Do you see what I'm saying? These people in America, just like the woman who blocked me, it is so hypocritical. Or even like Donald Trump talking about the Epstein files. I just think the corruption is going to get worse and worse in America, that the only direction it's going to go is as it continues to go down. You're going to see it until it gets really dangerous.
Well, the thing is that I think China is doing a lot of things in some ways better than...
See, we don't want to admit it because we're brainwashed to think communism is bad. Though I don't label China as communism anymore. I label it as fascism. But we got this guy named Adolf Hitler who did nationalism, National Socialism, that were brainwashed to think that is the most evil political system in the world, this thing called nationalism. They're all doing it, but we don't want to do that. But Americans are starting to realize, they're like, if this thing called fascism is so evil, then why is China doing so well? China's not getting powerful due to immigration. They're not getting powerful due to diversity. So how are they doing this? Maybe, again, what do I keep saying about World War II? We don't know the truth about Adolf Hitler. We don't know the truth about the Nazis. So we never really want to delve into what is this thing called National Socialism. That's China. If you ask me, where are today's Nazis? They're China. Are they doing well or not? Let's see. Let's see how it goes. I think America is going to get worse, though.
The United States. Like, I feel like I've seen construction videos.
Oh, like, yeah, construction there is insanely fast.
Gets done. Like,
in a month.
They've been, I don't want to say the location, but like there's all kinds of construction around just Santa Barbara, right? Man, that shit is like, what are they doing? It takes fucking years for them to do a little patch of road. It's like, but in China, I feel like they get shit done. And I wonder if that's because there's probably a bit more of a monoculture.
I think there's an incentive here too.
Oh, this is great. This is where the bullshit comes out. I forgot about this part. This is where Brian is going to ask some questions. And this girl, she could be naive because she was born, it sounds like she was born and raised in America. She's going to start talking out her asshole here. But it could be that she's just ignorant. Because again, I probably know more about China than she does. Let me correct the record. Watch here. But the bullshit's about to begin.
The longer you take, the more these companies that we contract with can make money.
Yeah, I think it's just the structure of how things are. Like in China, you know, like the CCP, everything's run under one organization versus here, like there's so many bills and like papers that have to be passed.
She's right about that. That's where China favors unity, where we favor diversity. If you've been in the military, I should do studies on how they do it, but it has a lot, me coming from West Point, the military, it has a very military, so it's not communism. Anyone who's been in the military knows the United States military is not a communist organization. It's fascism. That's what the United States military is based on. That's how China is. After Mao Zedong, when Deng Xiaoping came in there, he did the reforms. It's very fascism. So right there, she's speaking truth.
So much paperwork that has to be done to do anything that in China, it's just like, okay, once said and done. Like they just get straight to it. Here, it's like so many approvals. It's just like how our leaders, like our government runs, I guess. I think that has...
Wait, but here's my question.
Picture like the military, the general gives the order, boom, it's done. Now that's good and bad. I'm not saying, but she is speaking where we, all these parties, then we have the lawyers come in, then we have lawsuits, we have special interests. I mean, nothing gets done. Picture like when you think of if you've never served in the military, you probably have images. What's the military like? Chain of command, direct orders, follow the orders, get it done, very succinct. That's a lot with the Chinese government. I messed up here. 1 second.
United States.
I wonder if, I don't even know would that be possible for an American to go to Colombia? And I found that interesting.
An incentive here too. The longer you take, the more these companies that we contract with can make money.
Yeah, I think it's just the structure of how things are. Like in China, like the CCP, everything's run under one organization versus here, like there's so many bills and like papers that have to be passed, so much paperwork that has to be done to do anything that in China, it's just like, okay, once said and done. Like they just get straight to it. Here, it's like so many approvals. It's just like how our leaders, like our government runs, I guess. I think that has...
Wait, but here's my question, chat. Chat, do you guys think... I'm worried, bro. I'm worried. I think that, I feel like China is a bit of a threat. I think that...
So again, here we come back on the China threat. Well, if the system isn't efficient or doing well, how could China become a threat? Maybe the political system has some benefits to it.
They're gonna...
surpass the US?
I think the Chinese...
It's already happened.
England is...
Well, she says it's already happened. I don't know about that. I don't know.
No, it hasn't happened yet. I don't believe China will ever... I've said many times, I believe we're going to go into a multipolar world.
I don't know about that, but in some ways, I do think that...
Have you ever been to China? Let me ask you that.
No, I haven't. But I think that there's a lot of social upheaval in the United States. There's a lot of political polarization, social.
Yeah, it's called diversity is our strength. That would be one point that I would look into. Diversity is our strength has been one of the most worst, communist ideologies that we ingratiate ourselves with, and the Chinese don't like that.
Polarization in the United States. The United States has multiculturalism. Look, in China, you have like Uyghurs, and I don't know if I said that right, but there are...
Okay, get ready. Here comes the bullshit out of her mouth. But again, she just might be purely ignorant.
Different, I guess, ethno groups. I don't know if that's even... Like in China. But generally, the people in China, they're like Chinese heritage. Whereas here in the United States, it's like multiculturalism. I don't really think you have multiculturalism. In China, you have Chinese culture.
Yes, but we do have, India. We have a lot of different ethnic...
No, they don't have multiculturalism. She's going to go on a bullshit story. She's partially right. It is not even close to America's version of multiculturalism. I mean, not even close. She's going to explain a little bit. She's just wrong. But she could just be ignorant because she was born and raised in America. She's wrong, but let her speak.
Ethnic groups, majority are like the Han ethnic group, which is what I am.
So she's Han. 95% plus 1% are what's called Han Chinese. That's a lot. That's an ethno state. Anything more than 90% is an ethno. 90. Now add to that. Now the other 5% are what's called 50. Let me explain it here. There are a total of 56 ethnic minority groups in China. That sounds like a lot. Hold on. First, they only make up 5% of the population. Two, they're all similar like Chinese. I lived in Yunnan province, which is the most. There's 26. They're all like, picture like a Chinese and a Thai mix, the Chinese and a Vietnamese mix. They're all Asian. There's only a couple. Actually, there's only one, technically, that really does not look Chinese, and these are the Uyghurs. You probably heard the genocide, the concentration camps in Xinjiang. I've been there 3 times. They're not Chinese. They even know it. They're Turkic, which is a big deal, which is part of the problem. So again, at the end of the day, 95% of the Chinese population, they're not just Chinese, they're Han Chinese. I'm not saying negative about it. This is their strength. I think this is an absolute strength. Just I don't want this little girl to talk out her asshole here. 5% is ethnic minorities, but almost all the ethnic minorities are of Chinese. Also, and the culture is not very different. They have their own little cultures. The foods, we're not talking like Christianity and Islam, black and white people. These are major differences. It's not even close. She's going to give an attempt. Let's see how she goes.
But like, there's a lot of there's like a lot of cultures within China too. I wouldn't just categorize like all of China into one Chinese culture.
It's basically one big culture. Yes.
Like depending on what region you're in, they eat different foods, they have different practices, different beliefs.
And the food is all basically Chinese. She's right. In fact, I think the best food, I'll tell you, man, some of the best food I've ever had was with the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. What is it? Ulaanbaatar, not Ulaanbaatar, the Mongol Guo. Ulaanbaatar. So Ulaanbaatar is the capital of Xinjiang. Boy, it's good. It's Turkic. I also think the Mongolian food, Inner Mongolia. So it is not as much as you think, but there is variety of food in China. But this whole thing that China is multicultural, that's horseshit. It's not. It's not even close to the multiculturalism that's being experienced in the West. I'm not even close to make even that an argument.
They even look different. Like people in the north tend to be taller than people in the south because of like climate difference.
She's true. People in northern China generally be taller. Even their skin is a little bit more pale. We call the southern Chinese the monkey gooks. These would be the Cantonese gooks. But it's not that much different. I mean, even look at Europeans. It's not even as different as looking at, say, the Swedish blonde and blue-eyed and the Italians with the black hair. That's even much more of a difference in terms of ethnicity. Meaning the southern Chinese and the northern Chinese, they're both Chinese. There could be a slight, though. There could be slight in terms of their height, their stature, a little with their skin pigment. It's not that much different, though.
I don't think it's like all categorized as one. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah.
But.
Well, I don't think China.
It's a monoculture.
China's fully caught up quite yet to the United States, but I would say that China has a better. I think China probably has a better foundation for social cohesion than the United States does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know where Brian got that, but he's absolutely right. Why? Well, one of the things is just look at ethnicity. I mean, they're all basically Chinese.
So I think like the fall of the United States, I don't think is going to be external. I think the fall of the United States would be internal.
Internal, correct.
Which I think would be.
That's interesting. I didn't read the whole bit. He's absolutely right. What do I keep saying? The biggest threat, the same thing what happened to the Roman Empire. It's internal. I should do some videos because the MAGA people are also, we got to bomb Iran. We got to go to war with China. I'm telling you, people, I'm not saying to be kumbaya with these countries, but the number one threat that will destroy, it's going to happen, destroy the American empire. We're an empire now, or we're a globalist corporation, will be internal. And who do you ultimately blame? The white man. The white man. It's not going to work. But I think Brian and even the Chinese girl pulled him in, because even that's why a lot of people are starting to leave America now. Even her parents, I guarantee her parents have said the future is in China. We have to leave America. They're even seeing it. This place is going down. And it's not because of Chinese influence or Russian influence or the Taliban, not at all. We're a corporation. We live by the values of these globalist corporations, these globalist banks. They're globalists in nature. The country will fall. Give it time.
Very unlikely. And for China, for example, I don't think there's enough political polarization or social upheaval in China. And so, by the way, I apologize.
Yeah, this would be mighty Megatron. It's about a difference with the Italians. Yeah, go to Italy. Yeah. So I've spent a lot of time in Switzerland, also was stationed. Well, I wasn't stationed in Italy, but we have a base called Vicenza, Italy. I did army boxing there, but anyone's been to Italy, there is a bit of difference between the northern Italians and the southern Italians. That would probably be the biggest difference in China, is that difference. I'll put this up. But, where the northern Italians, also, if you go to northern Italy, there is more blonde hair and blue-eyed people in the south. That would probably, and I don't even know if it's that much different in China. I really don't even know if it's that much different. But it would be something like maybe Italy, like the Italians, like, oh my God, look at the northern Italians and the southern Italians. Look how much diversity we have. I even think that could be more than China. But I'm going to give the girl credit. She was born and raised in America. I don't think she was saying this to be deceitful. I think she just doesn't know. But no way. I mean, the amount of diversity in China compared to the amount of diversity in America, it's not even conceivable on the same dimension. That's how different it is.
Totally getting off fucking fucking talking about geopolitics in China. I don't know, chat. What do you guys think? I mean, isn't it just true though? Like, we got a lot of fucking polarization, societal upheaval in the United States. China seems a bit more cohesive, a little bit among its populace.
But the same thing. I mean, you can look at Israel. Israel's the same way. Israel wants to remain a Jewish state. Look at India, stuff like that. And within India, too, there's a lot of diversity, northern Indians. But generally speaking, the level of diversity in non-Western countries, I mean, go to Japan, same thing. Maybe our founding fathers never imagined that we would become a minority white country. They never imagined that women would be our leaders. They never imagined this stuff. This was meant to be a country that was ruled over. I believe our founding fathers' view of diversity was, could we take a German, a French guy, and a British guy, all white, obviously back then, and could they live together? That's a pretty big experiment. And it kind of sort of worked. The German, the French, it's kind of like putting a Japanese, a Chinese, and a South Korean together. It's sort of like that. We never envisioned, our founding fathers never envisioned there were going to be Asians and blacks and women are going to be, never envisioned this. They never would have tolerated this. Who tolerated it? White men. We tolerated it. So who's to blame? White men are to blame.
Isn't their education better? So I'm not sure, but I'm just.
Well, it is, but like the way they do it, like the system is like really detrimental to like students' mental health. It's like, yeah, at the end of the day, like I guess you can say like China pumps out smarter kids or whatever, but like, yeah, I think like their education system is something that I wouldn't really like approve of. So like,
no, the Chinese still want to send their kids to the West. They still view Western education as the best.
Yeah, that's why I'm studying here and then like taking this knowledge back. But
and would you argue that China like values STEM more than America does?
Yes.
That I actually am not too sure.
They probably do.
Yes.
Wouldn't say, but I
also the Chinese government has more control, way more control. Like for example, the Chinese government can kind of dictate.
Yeah, you're not doing any gender studies in China. Absolutely, the STEM research and hard sciences is much more pushed in China than America. It's not even close.
I believe, didn't the Chinese government, there's something about how the men were becoming too feminine. Or wait, fuck, I'm trying to remember what.
Absolutely. Brian's not remembering correctly. It's fine. Xi Jinping put the hammer down. They were having soap operas and movies of Chinese men sometimes wear earrings, like all these little stuff, and he put the kibosh on it. There's three things that I believe that are going to be the downfall of America, which are probably another reason why I'm censored on all this stuff. The way white men have empowered at our expense women, racial minorities, and immigrants. If you go to China, what does the Chinese government do to empower Chinese men? They don't want to empower immigrants. They don't want to empower women. And no, they're not empowering racial minorities. They focus their power to empower Chinese men. And what do we do in America? Look at me. I'm a military veteran who served here. We don't care. We don't really care about. I'd be amazed if you're a white man who really wants to die. Remember I did that video before, the picture in Europe, how many men want to die for Europe? Doesn't make any sense to me. But I would say, and that's why American men, we feel like cucks. Women, and that's why not a lot of American men, you can't get women. I'll do other videos. American women of all races, they don't respect you. Because at the end of the day, women respect power. You could be the biggest dick you ever wanted to. If you have power in many sort of women respect you. And guess what we did as white men? We just give her power. Give it to the women, give it to the racial minorities, give it to the immigrants. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Not how it is in China.
What this was. Mary, are you Googling it?
Yeah.
Something like they were like, all right, these fucking
China
little.
promotes education drive to make boys more manly.
Well, there was something like, okay, if you're on TikTok.
China bans effeminate men.
Yeah, so in China, so TikTok for the Chinese word is called Douyin. So TikTok and ByteDance are under the same company of, well, it's under ByteDance. So anyway, there's two versions. You probably heard this. So there's a Chinese version and there's the overseas version, and they ain't the same. What happens on TikTok is whatever. So a lot of it's garbage. I use TikTok sometimes, but there is a lot of garbage. That stuff's not found in China. Why? Because the China protect their own. They want a strong, industrial, patriotic, masculine, feminine society, like all these values. Is that wrong? I don't think it's wrong. I say again, the downfall of America is not from the Chinese people. It's from the traitor white man or the cuck white man. But absolutely, the TikTok version, the ByteDance version are totally two different things, and they can't access it. So if you're a Chinese person in China, I think you're gonna have to use something like a VPN. I can do it in Hong Kong. Hong Kong's different. There's, you could say, free internet, sort of. But in mainland China, you cannot access Douyin or TikTok. You have to use ByteDance, and they are significantly different in terms of what you can watch on there.
Right, yeah. Like if you're on TikTok in China, they're gonna like the algorithm on TikTok, and I guess it's named something different in China, or whatever. They're gonna show, like they're gonna push in the algorithm like science videos. They're gonna push educational videos. Whereas here in the United States, the TikTok app is going to push like retarded dances. And
yeah, Brian's on it.
And like just brain rot, fucking just slop, fucking content. And that's something proactive that the Chinese government is doing to like not rot the brains of their youth.
You don't have access to everything on the internet either there, right? Because I had one of my exes had gone to China, and besides it being like very difficult to, get approval to go to China, I remember he had to get like a VPN to access certain sites or whatever it was.
Yeah, that is true for sure.
Anyways, whatever. We'll get.
Okay, so let me end it here. What I want to do is let's just end it here with the Eileen Gook story. I look at Eileen Gook. Do I look at her as a traitor? It's hard to say because she should have never become American to begin with. And I put the whole problem, like, how would I solve the problem? But again, it's way past me now. I'm a nobody, but just politely revoke her American citizenship. I would do it and ship her back to China and wish her the best of luck. That's what I would do. Because like I said, she's not the problem, people. White men are the problem. And then I know I don't have the screenshot up here, but remember in the beginning when I was showing the the Twitter X about the congressman or the daughter here. What's this guy's name? DeSeuss. I'm looking here on the thing where Shane told me the name. Dinesh D'Souza's daughter. She was following me at one time. So Dinesh D'Souza's daughter was saying how unpatriotic Eileen Gook is. Okay, what about your husband, Daniela, who's a congressman? How unpatriotic and what a traitor he is to not answer my message as a military veteran. Why am I not welcome back in America? Why am I in the FBI terrorist watch list? So the point is, when I look at traitors, this is 101, is people outside your sphere of loyalty are not traitors. China can never betray you. Why? Because China should never be your friend. I'm not saying they got to be our enemy, but they're not our close partner or ally. So who betrays you? Your family betrays you. Your friends betray you. Your own government betrays you. I look at Eileen Gookie Gook. I just never looked at her as an American citizen. I just think it's a joke how she even got that. Just like this Chinese girl here. So it was a mistake. It was a joke. We're sorry, Eileen. You should have never became an American citizen. Sorry, we're taking your passport back. Here's your Chinese passport. Best of luck to you. So I looked at this girl, Dinesh, before you start labeling people unpatriotic, and this goes to the MAGA people too, love the way the mayor. Why don't you look at yourselves? Look how we're treating white men. Look how we're treating military veterans. We're treating them like dog shit. It is. Even Donald Trump, there's many things he's doing where he's missing the mark. And I said again, the same thing I looked at the ICE. Full speed ahead, ICE, when it comes to foreign nationals. Those are bad shots with American citizens. But if you think this government is so patriotic to you as an American citizen, you're crazy. But we want to get on the bandwagon, this Eileen Gookie Gook. It's the wrong story. Why don't we start holding Donald Trump? And Donald Trump, with these Epstein files, he has a duty to do. You release those fucking files, everything. Because we know as Americans, there has been corruption, and there has been unpatriotic acts that have occurred by people in influence who had a duty to be loyal to us. Where's Donald Trump on that? That's why I would focus on that more. But the Eileen thing, it's the same thing where Brian is sort of scratching his head with this Chinese girl, like, this is not fair. I agree, Brian. It's a double-edged sword and should have never happened where the non-Westerners can get their cake and eat it. They can have America and they have their homeland at the same time. We can't, but you don't blame them. That's not. It's the same thing. I'm trying to relate a lot of things, but the same thing with the southern border. The Chinese are sneaking in fentanyl to the southern border. The Chinese government is not responsible for sealing the southern border. Who's responsible is Director Wray, that traitor FBI director who should have sealed it. He had the power to. I look at Director Wray as a traitor. I don't look at the Chinese government. They're going to do their own thing. And I would say many times, the best way to protect us from the Chinese government and that is I wouldn't allow Chinese people to become American citizens. That's not an insult to them at all. Oh, that's racist? Oh, where did I learn that from? I learned it from the chinky chinks themselves from China. So if you call me racist, then you're going to have to call everyone in China racist. But that's what it's like dealing with cuck white men, because cuck white men, they could care less if the country falls apart, their wife gets raped, and their kids are handed over to pedophiles. The white man, his biggest fear is, don't call me a racist. It's their biggest fear. It's like, as long as I'm not called a racist, I'll let my country go. I'll let my wife go. You can have sex with my kids. We don't. But until we really deal with this topic, it's going to come. This is where nationalists and MAGA people are not aligned. MAGA people are like, man, it doesn't matter your race. As long as you pay your taxes and you're smart, that's great. It ain't going to happen, people. And we're going to see a divide. But that same conversation where Brian was having problems, it's going to happen. That same thing with this Daniela, whose husband is a U.S. congressman who's betrayed America by shitting on a military veteran and turning his back like that motherfucker did. It's going to get worse because I don't think this system is going to get solved until the empire is going to collapse. It'll happen. Give it time. And a lot of this rhetoric that I'm saying now, I get it. It's probably hyperbolic. A lot of people too are thinking, man, that guy's way too racist for me. Give it time. Give it time. I wasn't like this. When I got to China, after a while, you just start seeing stuff. Things are going to change. You know as well as we do. The same thing where Trump has changed the American people, and good for him. in terms of what we think is right, you haven't seen anything yet. This train is on a dead-bound beat for reckoning day. And when it gets closer and closer, people are not going to care anymore about being politically correct. The truth is going to come out just like guns and ammo. I appreciate everyone's, let me just see if there's any comments. I appreciate everyone's help and support. And like I said, before you say Eileen Gook is a traitor, which I get your point, I don't know. Where are the congressmen and senators that are helping out a military veteran? Where about them? That's where I'd be focusing on. Who do I think is a traitor? I would probably say our politicians are traitors. These American corporations are traitors. All these globalist elites who put other foreign countries too, could even be Israel people. Let's start putting the facts out, dual citizenship. I would put it on them first and foremost. And then I'd worry about this gooky gook girl called Eileen Gooky Gook. It's really crackers and fucking oranges right now talking about it. Until then, I appreciate your support. David Baumblatt from Terrabin's Leadership, telling the Patriots, lead to victory.